Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Kenny Conversation, brought to you by JEGS, the leader in high performance aftermarket car parts. Remember to go to jegs.com. Well, we've covered NASCAR, we've covered the World of Outlaw dirt late models, and we are going to the big boys now. The World of Outlaw dirt sprint cars, four-time champion Brad Sweet. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
So let's have a good time. We got to talk about your nickname, the Big Cat. Where did I like it? First of all, it's so badass. Where did that Big Cat nickname start?
I wish it was like a really cool story, but I lived with NHRA drag racer J.R. Todd in Indianapolis, and we were always watching that show, Fantasy Factory, and Rob Dyrdek was always calling his cousin the Big Cat, and so J.R. just started calling me it like as like kind of a friend to friend thing, as like kind of a joke, and then more friends started calling me it, and just kind of picked up on it. And then once Johnny Gibson, the announcer with the World of Outlaws, called me it, it was game on. So it's been a great nickname, though. You know, you never give yourself your own nickname, so that's how I got it, and the kids love it. You know, so we get to do a lot of T-shirts and stuff off it, and all the kids pretty much call me the Big Cat. I don't even think they really know my name.
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, you're right. You've made it. Dale Earnhardt Sr. was the Intimidator. Of course, Rusty was Rubberhead. That was a funny nickname. I'm the Herminator, but yeah, well, the Big Cat's pretty awesome, and I really like that. But okay, so 37 years old from Grass Valley, California, and right now you are a four-time consecutive. Now, one thing about the Kenny Walls conversation is that you can always correct me, always interrupt me. You're four-time and consecutive uh, World of Outlaw champion. Uh, am I right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it's been a long climb to the top, but finally was able to beat Donnie Schatz a few years back, and then haven't relinquished it. Since we've had a lot of close battles. David Gravel and Carson Maceda are kind of hot on my heels this year, but yeah, just it's been a lot of fun. It's hard to get to the top. It's kind of almost even harder staying there. So each year is a new challenge, and this year is no different for sure.
Yeah, I mean, 2019, 20, 21, 22. That is really hard to do because you guys race a lot. What do you what do you think you have that the others don't? Because I mean, to win four in a row, now I'll do the bragging on you. What do you think you and your team have that the others don't?
I think experience is probably the main thing in dirt track racing. Experience goes so long, or so far, I guess. You just know what to do, in tricky situations, and we have a great engine builder, great mechanic, great team owner. It's all the little pieces, of the puzzle. It's not any one thing that you can sit and say, stands out. It took a long time to build the team, and then now we're executing at a really high level because of all our experience that we've all worked towards. And I think that the biggest thing that wins us the championships year in and year out is consistency and our ability to overcome the adversity in a 90 race season. It's the good nights are always, those are the easy nights. Those are the good nights. It's the bad nights when you flip and get out of the work area, or the other night I started 11th and got up to third. It's those nights when you dig yourself out of a little bit of a hole. I feel like that we do really, really well compared to some of the other guys.
You're bringing up so many great topics that I really want to touch on. I want to talk about you at the Dirt Finals though at Charlotte. I think it was year or two ago where you went into that race and you had to finish it off to win the championship. Was that last year or the year before?
I've actually last year I had to do it, and in 2019, me and Shots were only within 4 points going into the last night. So definitely had some of those moments where we had to step up and go to another level. Last year was close with Gravel. We were only 14 points going into the last event, which is only 7 positions, and we were racing 3 nights. So 7 positions over 3 nights is really nothing in dirt racing.
what do you think, from one racer to another? I have my deals that I do to keep myself calm, whether it's a song in my head as I'm getting, I'm starting my motor as you're being pushed off. Al Unser Jr., he said before the Indy 500, he had Mustang Sally, these little quirks, say a little prayer. So as you went into those dirt finals, I mean, you're a real champion because you had to, as you just said, you had to really finish these things off. Do you have any quirks that keep you level?
I think thing that I've figured out is I really go to the gym a lot and work out and just mental prep. Just being prepared mentally and physically. It's like I'm ready, for the moment. I think it's just I'm up for the challenge and I'm really comfortable with whatever the outcome as long as I'm given 110%. I'm comfortable with what the outcome is. So I try to stay calm that way, knowing that I did everything. I prepped my mind, the car's prepped, I'm 110%. I'm going to go out there and give it 110%. And then, you got to be comfortable with the outcome because in racing, it can go 1,000 different ways.
Yeah, I think that's really important to say for kids that are coming up because, I mean, when I was younger, if I didn't win my heat race, I thought that was the end of my life. That I was going to live underneath a bridge in a cardboard box, and I was a failure. But it seems like when we get older, we understand that if we don't win our heat race, nobody's going to eat us.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, it took you a while to get there too, or not?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, and that's some of why I'm more successful is the highs and lows. I'm a lot more level headed, leveled out. I don't let things bother me. A bad night's just a bad night. And a good night's just a good night. It's kind of it's what racing is, and the more you get like that, the more for one, happy you are happy in your life. Because you got a
Yeah.
wife and a kid, and there's more to life than racing. Although we make a living doing it and we love it and we're passionate about it, you do have to have some sort of you can't let it destroy everything that you have going on. And racing can do that. It can be a very mental, especially on the outlaw tour. We go, you'll have 3 good nights and feel like you can't do anything wrong, and then you can't do anything right for 3 or 4 nights, and it really knocks you down. So I've just learned over the years that's just racing, and I just show up 110% ready to go, every time, and that's all you can do.
I really like what you said there because I study the great ones. I used to think that if you were going to be a race car driver, you kind of had to look the look and you had to just race, and that's the only thing you could do. And then all of a sudden, I saw Tony Stewart wearing shorts and flip flops, and I'm like, he don't look like a racer, but and then you see just other drivers like Casey Kane, your car owner. We'll get to that later, but I like what you said that, and I've even learned that to be a racer, you don't have to be so hardcore. It is good to go see a movie, maybe get a massage, maybe go on a vacation. Besides working out, do you do anything, during the grind to try to, do you go see movies? Do you get massage? What do you do?
Well, vacation obviously just because we're so on the go is nice with family. Going home really when you just get to go home for a week, that's probably hard for people to understand, and just cook on my outdoor kitchen, my outdoor barbecue, get to cook some steaks or some ribs and whatever. When I'm home, it feels like vacation at times, just living in these hotel rooms and being on the road. So that going on vacations to somewhere warm, Bahamas, something like that's always been fun, that we've always enjoyed doing. But I have a lot going on in my life. Not only am I driving the race car, uh, you know, Casey and I started the screen print shop, Kane Screen Print. So, I'm not there all the time, but, certainly involved in some of the discussions. And then, Kyle and I started the High Limit series. So we're doing that, plus the podcast. And then,
Got my notes. Got my notes,
yeah,
baby. We're going to get there.
yeah, so I guess for me, what I've realized though is that my brain, I can, if I'm doing other things, instead of just sitting in the hotel room bored, yeah, working out, but I got this and that. Then when I show up to the races, I'm actually a little more excited to kind of be there and, then I'm just focused on that for the night instead of all the other, mumble jumble I got going on.
I want to call an audible real quick. Kenny Conversations means, hey, I just thought of something. And you do the same, Brad. So I want to go back to Knoxville last week. Scary situation with Carson Macedo. Flipped, caught on fire abnormally. What is there anything that you all learn, the World of Outlaws? What happened there? Can you give us an update?
Yeah, I mean, I think what happened is something broke. We're not exactly sure what broke, but obviously violent impact into the wall. These fuel cells is something that we're really looking at, why they're they come off the cars, and once it came off the car, or came unmounted and loose, then it was able to poke a hole in it, and then when he landed, obviously then fuel's pouring out onto the hot brake rotor or the exhaust or whatever, and then it ignites. And Carson was completely unconscious. So the good thing is Knoxville had the right stuff to put the fire out, and they did a good job. I think we can all learn from, maybe we could have got it out a little quicker, but they got it out, and he didn't get any burns. And I've learned a lot about this foam stuff that they spray on these fires. It's really amazing, to be honest. If you spray it on your hand,
Jive.
Yes, exactly. You can damn near light your hand on fire. So it was comforting knowing that they had the right stuff, and that Carson went through that experience and didn't get anything but very minor burns. He's actually racing with us this last weekend. So but we learned, I learned, they already knew, but I learned that with the right foam and if you spray the fire in the right spot, that they could have that fire out in 10 to 15 seconds, no problem. And then it was scary just seeing Carson in that situation, obviously trying to help him, felt kind of helpless. But I think the right move was to get the fire out first, then get him out, since we did have the right, firefighting foam and people that we needed to be doing that. So the outcome was good. It felt a little helpless, a little scary for sure. But I'm happy it happened at Knoxville. I certainly think that the learning is that every track needs to have that same type of foam and same type of equipment. And it's something we're definitely going to work towards moving forward, is having those tools in case some of those fires happens at other tracks.
Yeah, I want you to know that I feel bad for you. I wanted to bring it up because I thought it would be a learning situation. When I watched, I felt helpless for you. I could only imagine you were thinking your friend was going to burn to death. I love you. I'm sorry you had to see that, but we're going to be better.
Yeah, exactly.
We got away with it.
And he's okay. I think that was the biggest thing, is that to watch someone go through that and it be okay because of the foam, the stuff, that the tools that they had, they actually used them correctly. They sprayed him down. That's why he wasn't burning, is he had that foam stuff on him. So yeah, I mean, it was definitely learning, very helpless feeling, but if the outcome had been different, I don't obviously think I would have feel as good about it. But like you said, we learned from it, and I think we can bring those tools to more tracks, and I think that would be a good thing to have.
I was trying to find Joey Jive. He's the one you're talking about. I raced with him, and it just escapes my mind. But he stopped by the shop here, like you have. Stopped by my race shop and showed me his sticks, for motorhomes. And
yeah.
Do you remember the name of his company?
Is it Fire Aid?
Yes, Fire Aid.
Yeah, Fire Aid. Yeah.
He's very smart, very good.
Yeah, Fire Aid is some good stuff, and there's a lot of good tools that they can put in these side by sides and the back of pickup trucks, and I've been learning all about it. So
me too.
I've been learning from some really good people. There's a lot of good people in this dirt track sport that that are very passionate about safety and fire, and it's honestly a breath of fresh air to hear all that. And we just how it is. We go to a lot of tracks that just don't have those resources, and like Knoxville's and Eldora's, and I think that's the thing, is we need to make sure we're bringing those resources into those types of tracks when we go to race. Almost like you kind of have to look after yourself a little bit. Is kind of what I'm learning.
I just got done with Jonathan Davenport, Superman, dirt late model, and when we got to the end of the interview, and I'm gonna do the same with you, and he said that what you just said, he feels like that we need to upgrade the facilities. We're we got these $100,000 machines, $70,000 motors in the cars, and we hardly have porta potties, and we got guardrails, and we're cheating death somewhat.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
We need to get these I always say, us dirt racers, we don't dumb ourselves down. We don't go, oh, we're running dirt. We don't need to shade today. We don't need to take, some of these tracks are nasty. Do you feel like that is a big topic right now for the sprint cars? We got to upgrade these racetracks before somebody gets really hurt.
I mean, it certainly is for me. It's part of Kyle and I's drive for starting the series is we feel like there's this kind of an old boys club that runs the whole organization, and we don't want to mess anything up with sprint car racing, but we certainly want to put pressure on the situation to try to drive the purses up, make the racetracks nicer, go to safer places. And really the only way to do that is kind of just take the bull by the horns and start doing it ourselves. And we have a long-term goal of making sprint car racing, dirt track racing bigger, better, safer, everything. So this is kind of the beginning for us. And as we kind of step into that role of promoter / series, and kind of we kind of are looking at all those things and trying to figure out avenues to make racetracks safer, and maybe racetracks just aren't capable of having high level racing events until they are able to fix their facility a little bit. And that's just, those are tough conversations. And you always hear, well, they've been racing here for forever, and that's never happened. But we're trying to not be so reactionary and maybe try to get ahead of a few things, and
proactive.
Proactive, exactly.
Not reactive.
Yeah, and I think everything in dirt track racing is reactionary. It's always you react to, well, that happened, so maybe we need to do this, and then sometimes it doesn't even happen. So I definitely think being more proactive moving forward is something that Kyle and I want to do, and we certainly want to keep pressure on every series to do the same.
So I'm not going to rough you up, but we got to talk about a difficult situation. We see the Chili Bowl where Kyle didn't race. Priority Aviation, they field 3 or 4 really good cars. They didn't race. We see you and Kyle starting high limit sprint car series. In your opinion, what's going on right now? That's the best softball I can throw you without roughing you up.
Yeah, it's fine. I don't have a problem. It's goes back to why we're doing it ourselves. Starting the series is because there's greed. We feel like there's greed out there. We feel like Chili Bowl's just one example. It's not. It's a big example, and it gets a lot of headlines. But basically, it's grown so much over the years, and I get that Emmett Hahn doesn't feel like he has to pay more or put anything into the purse, and that's fine. That's his business, and that's fine. But as a professional race car driver that makes a living racing, if you want the best racers to go support the event, I'm certainly not going to leave my family for a week to go lose money in Oklahoma just because I want to bring a golden driller home. No, I mean I got to make my house payment, I got to pay the bills, and so if I can't fly out there and stay in a hotel for 5 nights and I have zero chance of making money, then to me that's not a relevant event for or a professional racing event. We're racing this weekend in Sioux Falls, South Dakota for $250,000 to win. Every high limit race is on a Tuesday night, pays at least $25,000 to win or $23,000 to win, and has an $80,000 purse. The Chili Bowl purse is just it's turning into more of just a fun event for whoever wants to go pay to race, and that's not our style. It's not my style. I mean, I think the Chili Bowl is an extremely fun. It's a great idea. They do a great job. Everything's there. But as a professional race car driver, I just don't see, the economics of it for me, or other professional drivers. I could go to Australia. You look at Kyle, he's going and racing in Arizona for more money. It's just, even though Kyle has a lot of money or people have money.
NASCAR money. NASCAR money. And I'm going to get to that.
You still want to go race, for a purse that you feel is justified. And, the Chili Bowl, to beat 380 people over the course of 5 days, the marathon.
You
And
don't
then
want to be used up. Don't use me.
don't use me. Just there's economics to everything. It's a business, and you can certainly look at how many people are there, look at the pit pass price, look at the grandstand price, do a quick math, and know that there's more money to go around to the racers, and especially the racers that make it all the way to the A main, and really are the show. The guys that
Finish
are
10th and get $750.
exactly. It's just not going to cut it. You're just not gonna. So I mean, it's not that I'm mad at Emmett. It's just that if he wants the Chili Bowl to stay relevant and have all the best drivers, the only way to do that is to put the money up like some of these other promoters are doing. You're seeing it in late model racing. I mean, we're racing for $1 million in a month over at Eldora. It's just the Chili Bowl's not really in that conversation because they haven't kept up, the purse. So I just, I think he's going to create opportunities for other events to pop up that pay more, and racers are going to go do those events.
So I just did a Kenny Wallace show, and this is a conversation between me and you. I feel like sometimes people want to keep, I've been using this a lot lately. I feel like sometimes people want to keep dirt racing dumbed down. In other words, my show was you cannot make a living racing dirt cars. And I like what you're saying because you're saying, I'm trying to make a living running dirt cars. So, for example, I'd like to think you and I are friends. 2-3 years ago, you come rolling up my driveway, and you're a World of Outlaw champion. And you come rolling up my driveway in your pickup truck by yourself with your souvenir trailer. And I said, Brad, what the hell are you doing? And you said, I got to sell souvenirs to make it. So I want to gather all this up. I say you can't make a living running dirt unless you're a 4-time World of Outlaw champion, unless you're selling souvenirs, unless you're busting ass. So I'm going to say this and then you respond. What you're saying is, let's make a living running dirt. Let's upgrade everything. And there's nothing wrong with that. Why keep ourselves dumbed down?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you're the part that you're right is the gypsy life or whatever, the life that you call it.
I call it a vagabond lifestyle. Smelling ass, toter homes, clean your stuff up.
So that's the part that you're certainly right, is the lifestyle and the sacrifice and the hotels and the parking lots and the road life is there. Do I make a good living? Yes. There's not a lot of other things that I could make as good a living, just with my skill set, obviously. I mean, there's no
You're a
9
4-time champion.
Yeah. So yeah, and there's a handful of us out here that are making a good living, but it's very top heavy and it goes downhill really quick. So when you say, yeah, you can't make a living in dirt racing right this second, I would say after 10 or 12 guys, yeah, you're probably right that it's it goes downhill quick, but they're making a living. They're doing it because they're so passionate or they love the dirt lifestyle, or they don't want to have a 9 to 5. I get all that, but me, David Gravel, Donnie Schatz, obviously like Jonathan Davenport, Carson Massey, all
The
the guys
guys that kick ass make money.
we can make money. I mean, if you go over here and you win Houston, we're getting, like you were right with your percentages. We get 50% of the winnings, the good guys, and
You watched my show?
I watched some. It got all the sprint car people, all the dirt track people, all fired up because they say, Kenny said you can't make a living, but I think they misunderstand exactly what you're saying. It's to me, like, yeah, you can, but you got to be, like you said, a 4-time champion in the Napa Auto Parts car owned by Casey Kane, battling it out for the the top level, and and you got to have good sponsorship and all the stuff. But yeah, that is the goal for Kyle and I, is to moving forward, is there, on these streaming services, there's a lot of people watching dirt track racing, and it's certainly grown our audience, and the crowds are bigger, we sell more merchandise than we ever have. There's more and more people watching these things every year, and we want to make sure that there's not a lot of greed happening. We want to make sure that we want to build these purses up, go to nicer places, to where Kenny's conversation in a few years is, man, you can make a good living dirt racing. More guys can anyway. And you're seeing it for sure. The purses are getting bigger. Everybody's putting pressure. There's a lot of competition now. You have, these 4 or 5 major sprint car races. I mean, you see it on the late model side. They have 10 or 12 major late model purses. So yeah, if you can win those races and you can compete for championships, you certainly can make a lot of money dirt racing.
So I don't want to beat this with a dead horse, just a little bit more. How many teams follow the World of Outlaws full time this year?
Right now, I think we have 13 teams out on the Outlaw Tour.
How many of those drivers, without naming names, make a good living?
I would say 7, 6 or 7. I mean, the first 3 probably make a lot more, and then there's a second tier probably to that you'd still say is a good living. Then past that, you're just doing it because you love it and you're passionate about it.
Yeah, I'm going to wrap this up. I feel like the way you feel, and a lot of people feel. I feel like racing can be bigger and better, dirt racing, because you know me. I'm all about dirt racing. I live it, eat it, breathe it. I just got done. I'm washing my car right now. Schrader shows up, and I said, I got to quit. I got to go down and interview Brad Sweet. So I'm washing my race car. I love dirt racing.
Absolutely.
But I feel like, it's dirt racing. Dirt's in my face. I'm like, hold on. It's awesome. I want to bring a sponsor. I want to bring his wife. I want to bring his kids. Do we have anywhere that I can bring a sponsor, a CEO of a major company? And I don't want the fans going, oh, they don't belong here because they're clean.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, there's only a few events, right? I mean, we do it with our Napa Auto Parts corporate, people. We're not bringing them to, most of the tracks, but you would bring them here to.
Good call.
You would bring them here to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and they'd sit up in the suite,
Yeah.
and you'd bring them to the Knoxville Nationals and put them in a suite, and they'd be impressed. And you could go to Eldora, but past that, yeah, I mean, it's just like kind of what we're talking about with drivers, past the 3 or 4 or 5 good tracks, or that are really dialed in, yeah, you wouldn't bring people. And that's part of the problem of why we haven't been able to grow like we want to grow, is because the bathrooms are disgusting, dirt and rocks are flying in your face. I mean, I agree with all that, and that's something that's a huge undertaking to fix that. But obviously it's got to start somewhere, and we got to build more and more facilities that we want to bring CEOs and people can bring their wives.
We want all 13 drivers to make a living.
Absolutely.
Running dirt. We don't want 7. And that's what you want. You want better for the sport.
I want better for the sport. Absolutely. I want what same thing you want. I'm just I'm probably diving into it a little bit deeper here with this series and things like that, to try to figure out how we can make that happen.
So okay, that's an end. We said what we feel about dirt racing. We just want it to be better, cleaner, nicer, safer. There's nothing wrong with that. So let's talk about the series. I believe that you and Kyle Larson started High Limit. I know what it's all about, but some people that watch Kenny Conversation might not know. Tell me about the series that you and Kyle Larson own, High Limit.
Yep. So Kyle's my brother-in-law, obviously, and so we get to have some candid, friendly conversations on the side, always, just about things. I'm always been an outlaw guy, and he's always kind of been like, why do you want to sign up, and why can't you guys run other things? And so I've
got you to thinking.
Well, one thing Kyle has the unique ability is that no matter what car he drives, a lot of people want to watch him. And luckily he loves sprint car racing. So he, with his relationship with Flow Racing, they want to do something revolving around Kyle a little bit, because they know every time that Kyle races, they get big big viewership,
He's a
and
show.
he's a show, right? Well, they were open for whatever Kyle wanted to do, whether that was, show up in a late model and somewhere in a payment late model in Berlin, Michigan, or they just wanted to do something based around Kyle. Well, Kyle wanted to do sprint cars to try to make sprint car racing bigger because he saw on the late model side that they had freedom, and that was making their purses, like they were racing for a lot more money, he felt like. And that's why he was racing more late models, is because he felt like he could race for way more money over there. And so then the sprint car thing, we started talking about how to do it. Well, obviously his Sunday job eliminates weekends, and we felt like, Tuesdays and Wednesdays are pretty open, for most of the season. Especially, you're not really competing against anything. There's some baseball on, but there's not a lot of racing on, and the only thing that we debated on is if we could get crowds to show up on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. And so we started with 12 races, tried not to interfere with anything, and then we went big, as big as we could on the purses. But we're lean and mean. We don't have big trucks and trailers going down the road, and a bunch of series officials. You see me
Crawl before you walk.
crawl before we walk and try to understand it, as much as we possibly can. So I live in that. I'm right there with the officials and running around, helping sell the tickets, helping get the people in. Then I go down and I help push the cars off, and so I'm really trying to learn that everything about what it would take to run a series. But so far we're 5 races in now, and it's been, really, really good. Obviously, Flo's really happy. The racers are happy because they're able to now, in between traveling between two different races, they're stopping in and racing for these $80,000 purses on one night. $80,000 is our purse. That's our minimum, and then we have two $50,000 to win purses that are a total of 140,000. And then the 12 race series has a $120,000 point fund. And this is all because Kyle came to me and said, let's use my likeness and my ability to get viewership and create a series. And
Michael Jordan.
Yep. And then Flo backs it. And then you get my entrepreneur brain going. And then, we end up with a good group and a high limit series. And, Kyle's manager, JP, and Rod Moskowitz, they help kind of with all the legal stuff, and we are able to kind of come up with something pretty cool. And the racers are happy now. Eagle Raceway the other night in Lincoln, Nebraska, we had just droves of people. So
I saw it. It looked good.
So we proved that people are going to come out on Tuesday nights. The viewership's great for Flo, and the racers are supporting it because the purses are good. So we had 27 guys sign up full time for our series to travel around to all the different states. We had guys from Pennsylvania, New York, California, the Midwest. So, it's turned out probably better than we thought. And now we just need to figure out what to do with it. If we want to grow, or if we want to kind of stay with where we're at, or whatever, but we're certainly enjoying it.
Well, I really feel like, as I get older, there's good business models, and then there's business models you try and they don't work. We look years ago, Thursday Night Thunder, open wheel midgets at Indianapolis Raceway Park was the showcase for the great Jeff Gordon. So I believe that sometimes people get so excited for Friday or Saturday. It's like they get a little sad on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Hell, let's have a race. I think sometimes that business model works. Sometimes it doesn't. And I see these World of Outlaw or these flow nights for late models, flow nights, and the numbers are record breaking. People sitting on their couch. Hey, honey, what are you doing tonight? Hell, I'm watching Dirt on Flow.
Yeah.
Chromecast matching up with my TV. It's on my big screen.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. We're seeing, extremely high viewership, and it's, that's really big for sprint car racing because, that's that many more people understand it, know what it is. So when we do come to their town, they're going to support that local track to see the stars come out. And obviously Kyle's star power, Rico Abreu, and a few other people that are supporting our series. I mean, everything helps, draw those fans in. But I'm certainly a believer that the streaming services have connected us to a much bigger fan base, and I think this is just the beginning, and that's why I'm really bullish on sprint car racing and dirt track racing as a whole. I think if we can clean it up, make it a little more professional, I think we can grow the sport immensely.
Because you want to race for a living. You can do it, but you want those guys seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th. I get it. Okay, so we're man, we just can talk forever. We're already at almost 40 minutes. We're on the end here, and this is where it becomes a lot looser. The hard part's over. That was hard on me because I'm a racer, and I owned a racetrack at Macon Speedway. I owned a racetrack with Tony Stewart, Kenny Schrader, Bob Sargent. I get it. So let's have a little fun. Then we're going to get a little hardcore. The Knoxville Nationals. Why? When did it happen? Why are is the Knoxville Nationals the granddaddy? Is it bigger than Eldora? Give me your thought on that.
Yes, absolutely. Knoxville Nationals is still the granddaddy of them all. Still just something about that place. And I don't know why, but I mean, I think just growing up, watching it, how big the event is, it's certainly just it's a different place. When you go to Knoxville, especially as a racer that's going to compete, it just gives you chills going into that little town. There's really nothing much to the town. It's just
nothing.
And then like that week, it's like they turn it on, right? And then it's just golf carts and the bars happening and people, there's t-shirt vendors and, just, I don't know. It's just the place comes to life. It's like its own little world. And, it's the most diehard sprint car fans all in one place. We sell so much more merchandise at Knoxville than anywhere else because people save their vacation that are hardcore sprint car fans and they show up for that 1 week. And, the track's really good. It's really racy. I felt like Knoxville always led the way, and Eldora was right there with them, but Knoxville always raised the purse. And what Knoxville does too is one thing about their purse is it's not just a lot to win; it's $15,000 just to start the AMA on Saturday night at the Knoxville Nationals.
I never knew that.
Yeah,
you just taught me a lot. That's unbelievably awesome.
It's over $1 million purse for the. So what they do is guys can travel from California and Pennsylvania and wherever they're coming from, and even if they don't have the best week, I think if you run 6th or 7th in the B main, it's like $7,000 or $8,000. And then
I never knew.
If you have a bad prelim night, they have the Friday nights like the night of hard knocks they call it, which then then it gives you a second chance to kind of make a little extra money plus set yourself up. So I just think they do everything right. Everybody's, Eldora, obviously, since Earl obviously did a great job at Eldora. Now, since Tony's taken it over and taken it one step further, it's hard to ignore that there's $1 million to win race, but I don't think that $1 million to win race will be around, every year. The Knoxville Nationals is there. And then the Kings Royal, to me, is the next, biggest sprint car race that we have.
Yeah, and Knoxville also is the home of a beautiful Sprint Car Hall of Fame. It's real. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's not some tin building.
Mm-hmm.
So I agree with you.
Yeah. Yeah, the Knoxville facility is second to none. I mean, Eldora's definitely, made a lot of gains, but Knoxville's facility, their suites, just everything about that place is the premier dirt racing facility in the United States.
All right. We're going to wrap it up here a little bit, maybe 5 more minutes or so. I'm bad at saying that. I always want you to know that I know you're a racer, and I'm always used to working with hyper people. Kenny Conversation is going, I got to quit saying that. But your opinion on what we've already talked about most of it. Usually I do that at the end. So the next sprint car racer, but you're really good because you know a lot. Parts, pieces, motors. I hear that if you're going to go to the Knoxville Nationals and you want a motor that's going to pull through that black mud, pull that wing early in the night, we're at $70,000. What are your thoughts on the motors right now?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they're expensive. There's no doubt about that. The cost of goods has gone up for everything. You're paying more for steel, you're paying more for aluminum, you're paying more for labor, you're paying more for shipping, it's just everything's up, and it all adds, there's so many of those parts that are, in a sprint car engine that.
Not necessarily racing's fault, what you're saying.
Well, yeah, absolutely. It's not necessarily racing's fault but that's everything. I mean, fuel prices are up. I mean, you name it, it's up, right? I mean, that's so obviously an engine's going to be up, and the cost to go to the races is up. I'm not defending it.
Beer is up.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not sure that there's a whole lot that you can do. I will say the gains that they've made are like it's in our engine program, and I think I speak for most of the others. Is we used to have to freshen our engines 8 to 10 nights, and now we're going more like 16 to 18 nights.
Oh, that's big.
So we certainly realized that for sustainability of our own business, we had to figure out how to maybe take some compression out of these things and maybe put some beefier parts into where, and go a little bit longer. So we've lowered our engine build that way. Obviously the cost is high to build, but a guy like Bobby Allen that they build all their engines in-house and do it their way. I think they're building engines for more like 40,000. So there are ways to be crafty and do it. And they're at a very high level. Their engines will run as good as anybody's engines, but then there's other guys out there spending 60 or 70,000 and buying them in 6 or 8 pack. That just they got car owners that can do that, and my car owner has the money to do it, but the way that we do things, we run KKR as a business, so we certainly look at those expenses and how sustainable that is, the engine costs, and we've like I said, got our engines to run a lot more nights, and that's certainly saving us a lot of money.
I got to throw an audible here. I got so wrapped up in you, rightly so. How did you get hooked up with Casey Kane? How did you become his driver?
So in 2007, I was just racing Keith Coons, another guy, non-wing, some wing stuff. I was kind of just, my name was out there. I'd been going for 3 or 4 years, kind of just slowly getting another ride, progressing, learning, but I didn't come from any money, so I had to go do it the hard way, beg, borrow, and steal to get a ride, or, wash the car, work on it myself.
The grind.
So in 2007, I started to run really good, though, and I finally got some good opportunities to kind of showcase my skill set. And Casey had just got the Mopar deal, and he had Kevin Swindell and Brady Bacon driving it. And the deal, something with Kevin Swindell wasn't working with their deal, so there was a seat. The seat opened up at the end of 2007, and I was just right place at the right time. And I think they saw me out there grinding it out, working hard, and Willie Kane, Casey's cousin, gave me the call to just hire me. I didn't really know him, but since then, me and Casey and even Willie are probably, those are two of my best friends and basically family at this point. I've been together with them, however, that's 15 or so years. So pretty extraordinary and in dirt track racing to be with the same team for that amount of time. And Casey always had my back. He tried to help me get into NASCAR. NASCAR didn't work for me for whatever reason. I had decent opportunities and just didn't adapt, quick enough and well enough. And so really found my home racing with the World of Outlaws.
Yeah, most excellent. And I'm not going to say this to you. I'm just going to say it to our wonderful viewers out there. I get roughed up. I'm at like 108 wins right now with my old modified. And people would say, oh, that's because you got all that NASCAR money. And I tell everybody, I say, listen, there's a guy that has a tree trimming company, and that's tree trimming money. And then there's a guy that's got an electrical company, and that's electrical company money. And there's people that drill oil. But I want to say this, thank God for NASCAR money, because Donnie Schatz drives for Tony Stewart. The big cat, you drive for Casey Kane. And, there's always, Cale Yarborough once told me, he said, Herman, there's always somebody bigger than you. So none of us are never the biggest. NASCAR is great. It's good for the sport. It made Tony Stewart. It made Casey Kane. And they love you. Casey loves you. Tony has Donnie Schatz, and there would be less teams without those drivers. And I think they paid it forward.
I think so. I think the fans are the ones that they don't want dirt track racing to be considered a lesser,
Right.
of racing. And I think the true racers know, the Kyle Larsons and even, a lot of the NASCAR drivers know that the dirt track world is a different world. That they couldn't just come over here and beat these drivers. So
And it should be.
Exactly. So it doesn't really have to, in my opinion, doesn't have to be a conversation or a competition. It's, we cheer on the NASCAR guys on Sundays and have fun watching their races at times.
Love that.
And now they're, Chase Elliott will text me as much as anybody. He's watching our races, my World of Outlaw races, and all these NASCAR guys are paying more attention. So I think the Kyle Larson effect a little bit is he's brought the NASCAR late model and sprint car group all together. Everybody's watching everybody,
Thank you for saying it. Yay.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's no competition. We're all trying to make a living racing. We're all passionate about it. And that's really all that matters.
Yeah. And Napa Auto Parts sponsors you and Chase Elliott. That brings you guys closer together. So we're going to close it out with a goodie, an oldie but goodie.
Let's do it.
I did it with Davenport. So with Jonathan Davenport, I said Moyer or Bloomquist. So with you, you're just a kid, Kinzer or Schatz, or a tie. You can say anything.
Are you asking me who I think's better?
Well, just a thought.
Yeah. Man. Steve Kinzer's the greatest of all time.
That's it.
Strictly off of stats, and then Donnie certainly dominated his decade or even two. They're 1 and 2. It's just Steve Kinzer's just the king, and maybe it's because when I was a kid, watching him dominate, he seems so unreal. But certainly my respect for Donnie Schatz is, man, second to none. I love the guy. He's a great friend now. He made me work so hard for it all that the respect's so high, and now I feel finally the respect back from him, and we actually have a really good friendship because of it. And two of the best though, for sure.
Man, that makes me so happy. I kind of dreamed that up because over there in the late model world, they're just always about Bloomquist or Moyer. So I served that up on a platter to Davenport, and we had a good time with it. So
who did he pick?
He didn't even hesitate. He right away said Bloomer, and but he answered kind of like you did. He says, let me back up. He has one car for Eldora, and Davenport says Eldora made him all his money, although he wins everywhere. So he said that Bloomer had one car that, Eldora, and kind of like Knoxville. So the late model guys are just like you guys. You guys are Knoxville. They're Eldora.
Yeah.
And he said definitely Bloomer because Bloomer's got more big wins, like Eldora.
Yeah.
And but we both agreed that Billy Moyer and Bloomer are like, it's a beer drinking conversation. None of it's right.
Exactly. Yeah. So who was the best race car driver that you've ever raced against?
That's the great Dick Trickle out of Wisconsin, Rapids, Wisconsin. Dick was my philosopher. He's the one that taught me some of these things. Like, I didn't grow up running a 6-lap dash like you guys. Yeah. Trickle taught me you must first finish to finish first.
Yeah.
Just like we talked earlier in our conversation about body and mind, not getting depressed in that hotel room you're in right now, which I can't stand them anymore because I lived in them. But Dick Trickle won more races than anybody, built his race cars, was a great race car driver, and he's the man for me. But like you, I look up to all you guys. You know, Brad, I look up to you. I admire you so much.
Thanks.
And I admire you for a lot of reasons. Sometimes we don't know, but I got to tell you, I could admire you for your driving skills, but that doesn't mean you're a good person.
Yeah.
I admire you because your father come up and parked his motorhome, and I saw your dad, and I talked to your dad. And then you rolled up my driveway to park your souvenir trailer so you could fly back home to be with your, you know, at home. And I know more about you, and I love your sister. She's fun. I just think you're a wonderful person, and thank you for being on Kenny Conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was an enjoyable conversation, and you didn't beat me up too bad. So hopefully the fans will enjoy it.
Well, I didn't want to. It could have got ugly. It could have got ugly, and I know that. And I didn't want it to be there. I figured this way. I am a lover. I do poke the skin with a knife, but I don't never puncture. And I figure if the late models can have World of Outlaw late models and Lucas Oil, then I know you all can do the same thing. And you got it going on, and your heart's in the right place. You and Kyle, you just want better. You want everybody. You want more people to make a living, clean the facilities up, and I like that.
Absolutely. So thanks. Thanks for everything.
Thank you, buddy. All right, everybody. Remember, we are in podcast form. This is a long conversation, but as you know, on your way to work, you can listen to Brad. On your way home from work, you can listen to Brad. Or old Charlie Marlowe. We'll chop this up. We'll give you 15 minutes at a time. It'll live forever. So until then, remember, Kenny Conversation just keeps on rolling. We've got it all covered. NASCAR, dirt. Until next time.